হুম হুম ল্যাপটপ নেই। হুম হুম
রিমোটটা নিয়ে আসো তো। হ্যাঁ রিমোট নিয়ে আসো।
কি করবে বলছো?
সেটিংটা তো চেঞ্জ করে দিলাম।
ওই তো আমাদের দেখা যাচ্ছে গো।
দেখি যে না হয়েছে কি। ঠিক আছে।
ট্রাই এখানে রেখে দাও না। হুম
ক্যামেরা না না ওখান থেকে কন্ট্রোল করতে হবে। আপনার অফ করতে হলে কি এখানে ছুটে আসবো নাকি?
টিস্যু পেপার আনবে, গ্লাস আনবে। একটু কি ম্যাম একটু পিছিয়ে দেবো, সামনে একটু হয়ে গেল।
ঢেকে না যাবে সামান্য হ্যাঁ সৌগত গেছে পেন ড্রাইভ উনি দিয়েছেন ফাইলটা নিয়ে আসবে হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে এটা কোথায় আসবে
হ্যাঁ সরে দাও। এদিকে সরে এদিকে সরে এদিকে সরে। লাইট
এটা মাঝে
না না মাঝে লাইট ম্যান ওখানে।
আচ্ছা শোনো এবার তুমি বাপি এখন করবে আমার কথা তুমি বলবেন তো তুমি যখন স্টার্ট করবে না সোফাটাকে ঠেলে পেছনে করতে হবে, এটাকেও নিয়ে যাবে জাস্ট একটু সেট করে দেওয়া হবে, ঠিক আছে? हाँ हाँ, क्योंकि महुआ मैम उनको प्रेजेंट कर रही है ना, तो उनके सामने ही हो जाए, उनको बैठा देंगे, कुछ एडिशन नहीं करना है, वी वेलकम। बापी बापी এটা কাকে ঢোকা একটু ঢোকা একটু পিছিয়ে দাও ওটা একটু পিছিয়ে দাও
আরো সরাবো
उससे उन्हीं का এটা মিনিমাম
You not look at each other's faces. I don't have the time. You want me to take you off your seat so you will do the next.
पीछे कौन बैठेंगे? इतना ही अच्छा है रेस्टोरेंट कितने कटर है तुमने? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we begin the final day of International Conference on Sustainable Business Practices, it is important to reflect on the remarkable discussions and insights shared over the last 2 days. Day 1, the inaugural session of the International Conference on Sustainable Business Practices, set an inspiring tone for a 3-day event dedicated to reimagining business practices for sustainable future. The session featured prominent dignitaries, including Dr. Bhimraya Maitri, Director of IIM Nagpur and President ISDSI Global, and also Dr. Ravi Kumar Jain, Director of Spurge Global Business School and General Secretary ISDSI Global, who shared profound insights into the intersection of sustainability, innovation, and global business practices.
The chief guest speech by Dr. Maitri and keynote speech by Dr. Jain highlighted the necessity of bridging research, practice, and policy to drive impactful sustainability initiatives. Their addresses provide actionable perspective on balancing economic growth with social and environmental responsibilities.
The session also celebrated the hosting rights for the prestigious ISDSI Global Conference scheduled from December 26 to 29, 2025, further solidifying IMI Kolkata's role as a hub for meaningful dialogue and collaboration in sustainable business practices.
The industry panel discussion on future proofing business through sustainable innovation, achieving net zero emissions, brought together the industry leaders from various sectors to discuss the future of sustainable business practices, exploring both challenges and opportunities. The thought provoking keynote address by Mr. Rahul Srinivasan, Senior Energy Specialist, Sustainable Energy for All, Washington, USA, set the stage for collaboration and innovative thinking.
Day 2 of ICSBP conference continued to inspire and engage participants through insightful sessions and impactful discussions. The day began with an address by Professor Moinak Methi, University of Witwatersrand, South Africa, a distinguished expert in financial data service science who provided thought-provoking insights on sustainable innovation and data-driven strategies. His speech set a collaborative and intellectually stimulating tone for the day. This was followed by the keynote address from Mr. Sakesh Shah, Group Head, Investor Relations and ESG at RB Sanjeev Goenka Group, who highlighted the importance of embedding environmental, social, and governance principles in corporate strategies. His address reinforced the urgent need for sustainability driven business practices.
IMI Kolkata has recently signed MOU with Green Terre Foundation to embark on a journey of net zero through its From Campus to Community initiative. The same was announced on stage along with Dr. Rajendra Shende, Chairman GTF, Dr. Samideep Chakraborty, Chairperson IMI Kolkata's collaboration with GTF, Professor Mahua Banerjee, Patron ICSBP and Director IMI Kolkata, Mr. Saket Shah, Head Investor Relation and ESG RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, and conference chairs Professor Tirthankar Nag and Dr. Rohit Singh.
The day's highlight was the industry panel discussion on redefining corporate values from profit to planet, featuring eminent leaders from various sectors. The panel explored the transformation of business models to balance economic goals with environmental and social responsibilities.
The session concluded with a lively Q&A reflecting the participants' engagement and commitment to sustainable business practices. The session was moderated by Professor Ramachandran Natarajan, Emeritus W.E. Mayberry Professor of Management and former Associate Dean of College of Business at Tennessee Tech University. He is also a founder member of ISDSI Global Organization. Professor Natarajan's expertise in sustainable supply chains and operations made him the perfect guide for the panel discussion.
Over the past 2 days, we have shared remarkable insights, exchanged transformative ideas, and deepened our commitment to shaping a sustainable future. The conference continues to foster meaningful dialogue and collaboration, steering businesses towards a sustainable future. Today, we move on in this inspiring journey with a keynote speech by a visionary leader in sustainability, Dr. Rajendra Shende, founder director of Green Terre Foundation. His groundbreaking work in environmental stewardship and global climate initiative promises to leave us enriched and motivated. We welcome you, Dr. Shende, at IMI Kolkata. Please welcome him on the stage with a huge round of applause. Okay. To mark this moment, I would like to request Professor Tirthankar Nag to present a sapling to Dr. Rajendra Shende as a symbol of our respect and commitment to sustainability. May I now request Professor Mahua Banerjee, Patron, ICSBP, and Director, IMI Kolkata, to kindly introduce Dr. Shende.
It is my honor to welcome Dr. Rajendra Shende, Chairman of the Green Terre Foundation and a global leader in sustainability. With decades of experience in environmental policymaking, Dr. Shende's work has significantly influenced sustainable development practices worldwide. Dr. Rajendra Shende, an alumnus of IIT Bombay, is the former director of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, in Paris. He is the chairman of Green Terre Foundation, a think tank and action platform on energy and food security, which works towards global goals of net zero, carbon neutrality, climate change, global warming, and environment, as per various protocols of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. As a director in UNEP in Paris, Dr. Shende led the global program to protect the stratospheric ozone layer under the international UN agreement of the Montreal Protocol. Considered as one of the most successful global environment agreements, the Montreal Protocol has achieved the total phase out of dangerous chemicals all over the world that depleted the ozone layer. That success has avoided the global disaster due to depletion of life-saving ozone layer. 53 African countries and 12 Middle East countries gave citations to Mr. Shende for the advisory services that he provided in implementing the Montreal Protocol. As coordinating lead author of the special report of IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change of United Nations, he contributed to set in motion a global understanding of the scientific linkages between the stratospheric ozone layer and climate change, and is the proud owner of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. His project called Solar Chill won the UK Industry Award for convening global experts to develop the solar vaccine cooler, technology of which is in public domain for the benefit of the society. In 2006, Dr. Shende was felicitated by the President of India, late Dr. Abdul Kalam, for his role in the development of the solar vaccine cooler for the poor, rural, and remote communities. And a special conference of selected experts was hosted at the presidential estate, Rashtrapati Bhavan, in his honor. Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Governance awarded his program for forging innovative partnership of the competing private sector companies for the common goal of global protection of environment. He is also member of Governing Council of MIT World Peace University of India. Before joining the United Nations, Dr. Shende served in the senior management positions in private sector, including Tata's and SRF. In November 2024, Dr. Shende and world leaders gathered in Baku, Azerbaijan for the Conference of Parties COP29, where he proposed that COP29 must establish an international court of climate justice. He was awarded Maharashtra Bhushan Award of SME Association by Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, Dr. Shankara Narayan, Satara Bhushan, and Satara Mitra Mandal Award by Honorable Dr. Srinivas Patil, Governor of Sikkim, Koregaon Bhushan Award by Honorable Minister Chandrakant Dada Patil, and Rahimatpur Bhushan Award by Nagarpalika of Rahimatpur. Anecdotally, amidst the numerous international and national awards, he considers the most close to his heart the award given to him by people of Rahimatpur, a small rural town in Taluka Koregaon in Satara district of state of Maharashtra, where he did his schooling. He is the state level rank holder in secondary school examination, During all his college and IIT education, he was a National Merit Scholar. On 20th February 2024, when Green Terre Foundation jointly with AICTE, Ministry of Education, and IIT Guwahati held the 4th regional workshop for Net Zero University Campus, India became the first country in the world to steer the movement of carbon neutrality in the campuses of educational institutes in all 4 regions of India. Flagging off in the west, Pune University, traversing to the south, SRMIST University, then in north, Delhi University, and finally in the east, IIT Guwahati. This has unveiled the new era of green skill building for net zero that is much needed to keep the planet safer and sustainable. Green Terre Foundation, under its flagship project of Smart Campus Cloud Network, SCCN, has now completed the odyssey of sensitizing the localization of the net zero in the university campus in close cooperation with Ministry of Education, AICTE, Ministry of Power, EESL, UNESCO, Regional Chapter of New Delhi, UGC, NBA, NIRF, and Niti Aayog. At this point, I'm happy to mention that IMI Kolkata had participated in the 4th regional workshop for Net Zero University Campus held in IIT Guwahati in February 2024, where Dr. Shamudeep Chakraborty represented IMI Kolkata. Following that, IMI Kolkata has signed an MOU with Dr. Shende's Green Terre Foundation for this initiative called From Campus to Community for building skill sets in our students towards a carbon neutral future. Today, Dr. Shende will deliver his keynote address on Forgotten Capital to Address Climate Crisis. Let us have a big round of applause for Dr. Shende. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you.
I have a remote with me. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Namaskar to all of you. First of all, thank you to Mohua ji. I call you Mohua Madam probably, for a very, very generous introduction. I've been seeing this generosity right from the day I came in this campus. One more generosity is they've given me 1 hour to talk. Very generous. Normally I get about 7 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, something like that. But I'm going to make a good use of it to make you talk and then make you walk. And let's hope that facing such a young minds would really kick off what is called as in a simple word, action. Let me also thank Moaji for mentioning the name of my village. Normally it is not mentioned. People talk about IPCC, Nobel Peace Prize, people talk about IIT and all that. But they don't know where I come from. And I come from a very small village in Satara district, which is called as Rehmatpur, where I did my schooling. But one of the impacts it made on me is not just schooling, but being near to the nature. And you know, we forget that we have management institutes, we have technological institutes, and nowadays there is a trend of called as a management of technology. Recently, I was in BIMTech, which itself is called as a Birla Institute of Management Technology. So I think probably you will also start how to manage these technologies, or technologies. But the real management of technology is to be learned from the nature. And I'm going to come to that point. The nature is the professor for billions of years of experience. And it has survived the disasters, it has survived good times, and it has survived the onslaughts of number of its animals, including human beings. And the latest onslaught that nature is facing, which seems to be beyond the nature's control, and nature is not able to balance it, the how human beings are behaving. In all earlier disasters, even extinction of the life on the earth, as you know, there are 5 extinctions before now, where the nature managed and again flourished. It's just like kingdoms getting defeated in a war and again setting it up. It's like nature has been working on it for billions of years and learning. And I can give you some of the examples which even we are not able to emulate the nature. Take a simple example. When I was visiting California, I was taken to the forest, which is called as a redwood forest, where the trees are such a tall trees. Some of them are 300 feet, maybe taller than even Qutub Minar. And the topmost leaf or the leaves get the water from the ground, because unless you get the water, they can get the air, because the air is everywhere, on the top also, bottom also. But the water, they get it from the roots. 300 feet. Who pumps it? They don't have pump. The human beings invented pump, right? Discovered it, started manufacturing, making profit. And now everybody has even forgotten how the trees get water from the roots. That's what nature devised, nature designed. And what profits they get from that? They get the profits of encouraging their colleagues to prosper. They made the society of trees. There is, in fact, a science, new science coming up, which is called as a phytosociology. You young management students may not know all those things, but they started understanding that trees manage their society. They learn from each other. They have the enemies. They don't like certain plants to grow around them. Some of their friends, some of them invite them. How do they say they don't issue invitation card? How do they invite? They don't have phone. So how do they call the trees to come there? They call through the roots. We are not understood it, because we are running after artificial intelligence. The roots give the messages, and we are not understood those roots. The way we are not understood how the water gets pumped for 300 feet up, and we are not able to even copy it. Copying is so easy, as all of you know, but we are not able to copy trees yet. There are so many such examples there, and that one you learn when you are near to the nature, which has become a very rare now, because the villages are slowly disappearing along with the nature. And you young minds will be facing this crisis, that you will not have a real professor around you to tell you the lessons of billions of years. Maybe you can get it, because you probably are somewhere in between. There is still villages there. There is a prediction made that the word village from the dictionary will disappear at the end of the 21st century. There will not be any villages. And we call it a development. And that development will be taking over all the practices, ancient practices, the villages, the nature's lessons. And this is something which is need to be, it's a brooding exercise. You have to go back and think about how the things work on that. So with that kind of introduction, and thank you, Professor Samyadeep, for being all the time contact with me to make sure that this particular event today takes place. And he, along with Moaji, I see Professor Nag and others, Professor Rachna Madam, the Akshita Madam, these all people were making sure that I get this opportunity to interact with you, the management students. And I've written there forgotten capital, because I'm sure each one of you like this word capital. You know, I'm not talking about capital city. I'm talking about capital required for the business. And that's why I gave this not the usual word of glossy word of sustainability and all that, where soon the management students start yawning when they hear about sustainabilities. They say, okay, it's a nice word. We can also talk on that kind of thing. But look, I come simply from the background of action. And Moaji did tell you that I worked in United Nations program where I made a singularly unique, created a singularly unique example how the international protocols can succeed. And succeed means not just by telling that, oh, we had this policy and we succeeded in doing that. And we actually did not succeed. But here, the chemicals which were damaging the ozone layer, which is a life shield, if that ozone layer would not have been there, would not be there, then we will not be sitting here. All the life on this earth would have just got vanished. Because the ultraviolet rays from the sun, they come on the earth. They are very high energy rays. And they burn everything, not only human lives, but the whole ecosystem. And that was a danger. Probably some of you were not even born at that time. But it was as much danger as the climate change is today. And I was made in charge to make sure that this agreement called as a Montreal Protocol works, where all the countries joined just because they wanted to save themselves. And that is one of the driving forces of everybody joining. Today, if any international agreement comes, everybody thinks and takes steps back and say whether I should join it or it's better I restrict myself to my own countries. But everybody joined it, and it was quite an exciting atmosphere. And I made sure that all those chemicals are vanished. So there are about 100 chemicals, the mainly chlorofluorocarbons. And those plants producing it were shut down. That's a big story. I'm not going to tell you that story now. But it was shut down, which is the first time any chemical being produced in such a large quantity in more than 20 countries, the factories were shut down. And I used to go to each of those countries and tell them, you have to do it. And they used to listen to me because I am a chemical engineer from IIT. So I'm probably the singular chemical engineer in the whole world who knew how to set up a chemical plant, at the same time, how to shut it down forever. And that I did. And that's why the success of this. And that time, I did take up this term called as a forgotten capital. And let's see what exactly it is. Let me start by saying that how the world is today. If you go to New York, United Nations Secretariat, the huge building you must have seen, it looks like a tall matchbox. And there is a saying that this matchbox ignites the world in various senses. And there is a debate going on that the United Nations exists now from 1945. Is it really success? Or should we think about something else? Because wars keep on going on. Conflicts keep on going on. There are border disputes, there are trade disputes, etc., etc. So there is a big question. The question is United Nations succeeded in its objective? And remember that United Nations was set up after 1945, World War II. And the question is, yes, it succeeded. Mainly comes from people like me who worked in United Nations. And people say no. Maybe it comes from some of the developed countries who were sort of borderline, UN okay, UN no okay. Now my take is like this. It did succeed because World War III has not started. But if you look at the war in a different way, the World War III has started. Sitting in this beautiful campus, quiet campus, away from the construction of metro going on just outside it, it looks like to be safety. It is not. And the World War III is already on. And these are some of the curves. These are observations. Nobody can dispute it. These are the observations taken from the instruments all over the world, that one of the reasons for the climate crisis today is a continuous rise of emission of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. And associated with the rise of these gases in atmosphere is the rise in global temperature. And when I talk about global temperature, I'm talking about average temperature of Earth, the land, and the sea surface. And you can see that it continues to rise. And in the first time the world talked about climate change agreement, climate change we have been talking about for a long time, but the agreement was in 1992. And there was a document that the world should get together to do something. And you can see from 92 onwards, we have been giving lectures like what I'm giving it to you. We are not taking any action. So it continues. So story continues. And we have seen that 2024, which just passed by, and we are almost going to forget it, 2024, is worth forgetting because it is one of the hottest year is on the record. But then it is not a hottest year because we have been talking about a hottest year after year. The 20 was the hottest, 21 was the hottest, 22 hottest. We have now seen the hottest decade. And United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres just 3 days back has said that we are on the road to ruin. And we have to exit that road. There is a Google map which shows how to exit. But we have the artificial intelligence with us, which says that is not the road. What we are doing is correct. And I think that conflict is going to cost us a lot. So we are in a triple crisis. I call it ABC, just to get your attraction. A is the air pollution. In fact, it's a pollution of all kinds, including mind pollution. But then we have biodiversity. 60% of diversity in the ecosystem has got lost over the last 50 years, which is called as the 50 years of human development. And the climate. What is the result? The result is the climate disaster is running faster than our action. There are some actions. I mean, I shouldn't be so negative about it. There are actions, but they are not enough at all. And the crisis is running faster. And these are some of the figures, how we can say that a crisis is going faster. And there are deaths, additional deaths. They're not the deaths due to COVID-19 only. They're not those deaths due to air pollution only. They're not deaths due to the age-related phenomena or age-related illness, but the climate crisis. And particularly for the management students, there is a tremendous economic loss. Because I have seen that unless to the management students you say that, look, there is economic loss, then the management students say, okay, now then I have to take a different path. So these particular earlier losses, because when a person dies due to the climate change, nobody has an economic loss figure there. He just died. Yeah, there's a condolences, but Nobody says about what kind of economic loss it has taken. Let's say a young person like you dies because of some respiratory diseases arising out of climate change. What is the loss? Somebody, your father has invested in you, and there are opportunity costs that you could have become a great startup. You could have built unicorn. You could have done a lot of businesses. That losses are not taken into account when a climate change related losses take place. It only takes care of infrastructure loss, the road blown away, the farmer's crop got lost, and those are the visible economic losses. So one of the research that you can do is what are the real climate losses to get attraction of the management students or the management experts. So in short, what we are doing is the nature's balance which has come. The balance has come because of the nature's experience for a long time. I was telling about billions of years. Nature didn't have that balance when the earth was born. It got balance itself. And as I said, we have not learned from that. But that balance has got lost. We learned in our schools about the oxygen cycle, CO2 cycle, water cycle, everything. That is all balance, which we are destroying it. And if you take planet and the human beings, and remember, human beings is one of the animal species or one of the biospecies on this earth. And there is a big debate which I was part of it, that we always see that, oh, we have to protect people on planet and prosper. Why people? Because we live with the billions of other species, and you are sitting over there, and in your digestive system there are billions of microorganisms working when you are listening or when you are sleeping while listening to me. They are working there to make you live, and we forget about them, and we say, oh, people have to be protected. But I think that is a very narrow view of the things. So the nature has been disrupted by our developmental concepts and our invasion. Yes, there is a road, there is a Google map which shows that you can do it provided you limit the temperature rise. That is what the work of IPCC. So IPCC they produce about 3 volumes every year. One talks about science, second talks about impact, third talks about technological solutions. The conclusion is in one sentence, that our actions have to result into keeping the temperature rise below 1.5 degrees centigrade as compared to the pre-industrial level, which is defined as an average temperature between 1850 to 1900. Now further, there is a timeline. Just like your examination and management degree certificates have a timeline that you have to complete in 2 years' time. There is a timeline. 1.5 degrees centigrade, if it is crossed by this time, you are in danger. So you have to reduce 50% of human-induced carbon dioxide by 2030, 5 years from now. So you probably have got the first job, maybe with Tata's, Birla's, Goenkas, and then you have just 3 years left to take action on that. And then 100% human-induced carbon dioxide has to be removed, stopped by 2050, for which you have time. By that time, you will be probably a manager, CEO, COO, maybe chief finance officer working with somebody. And probably all of you will be directing your efforts towards reducing the emissions. And then comes the technology now. If you are to reduce it, the technology comes in a front. Of course, there are policy making. Of course, there is a policy implementation. Of course, there is an impact analysis, which is of your policy decision. But the whole thing has to start with certain technologies. Because whatever the technologies we are using today is causing this problem. So now we have to transform it. You have to make sure that we cross those boundaries and go into another world which is fossil fuel free, because we know that 70% of the emissions come from fossil fuel, carbon dioxide. There are, of course, other ones. There are N2O. There is a methane. There are others. I'm not going into those technical details. Had I been talking to the IIT students, I would have gone into it. But I think it's enough to know it. But while doing these technological changes, which some of them appear to be safe, have the problems. And that's the problem I wanted to put in front of management students. That look, when you talk about clean energy, there are issues in it. Take, for example, this hydroelectricity, which is called as, people should go for hydroelectricity because that avoids the fossil fuel based electricity. Yes, that's true. It's one of the major examples, and new dams are getting built. The latest one is in Tibet by China, which is causing a lot of problems in it, political problems, not this. But all the dams in the world are going to face a problem because the climate change reduces the availability of water. So if there is no water, how the hydraulic dam could work, how the hydroelectricity can work. Now, I'm standing here not to give you threats. I'm standing here to tell you the story. Scandinavian countries, Norway, started, whose electricity mainly comes from hydroelectricity. About 80% of that, their total electricity comes from the hydro. They face the problem of reducing the electricity availability and started debating in a parliament. You know what we discuss in our parliament? There was an issue in Norwegian parliament, what we should do if these water levels in a dam, and this is a 22-23 story. This is not a story about 50 years back. And Norway exports the electricity to neighboring countries. So the export income goes down. So the management students also got active. But management students, unless you say that our income reduces, they don't wake up. They don't wake up. So now they have started thinking about alternatives. And alternatives, we have a Professor Natarajan here. He's going to talk about, or probably he already talked about, but he's proponent of using the nuclear energy in a safe way. We'll come to that later on. But that is an issue. And there are other issues. You say solar panels. Yes. In fact, in my activity center, which I don't call it an office of Green Terre Foundation, I call it an activity center. All our electricity comes from solar panels. In fact, our office is a power plant. We sell the electricity, solar electricity. But there is an issue. And that's what the management students can take up that issue. What happens to the solar panel when their life is over? And as you know, solar panels, if you have seen the energy efficiency curve of solar, how it can generate the electricity, that goes down, and by 25 years or so, it is almost negligible. What to do with those solar panels? China is facing that issue. China is a leader in solar panels. They have done an excellent job on that. But now they are going to face this problem. Same thing about turbines, wind turbines. Once the wind turbines lose its life, where you take these turbine blades? They're basically of a fiberglass. Fiberglass contains plastic. And we have the problem of where to go there. And this is a nuclear plant. Of course, Professor Natarajan is talking about Professor Natarajan, right? Sorry? Modular. I'm talking about Natarajan. I'm speaking, that is pronunciation is good, right? Now, these are the big plants. That's what I'm going to tell, what Professor Natarajan is telling. And most of these plants, if you're seen, if the management students have slightly gone out of their studies, they are on the banks of water, either river or sea, because they require a lot of water to cool the nuclear reactor. And what is happening is sea water is not getting reduced, that can survive. But the point is, because the water, all these plants are designed for water pipelines. Only certain water can come there. And when the water is rejected, that it comes out, it is not consumed. So they cool the reactor and it comes out the hot water. It goes into the sea, it goes into the river. And the aquatic life there is diminished. And this is something which is worth to the West Bengal and Calcutta management students, that if you don't have a fish in water, you will wake up, right? That there is no fish. And that is situation which is coming up. And France faced that problem. I'm not talking about the imaginary problems at all. The France parliament again discussed what happens to the hot rivers, not just hot climate, hot rivers. There's no fish. They have to import the fish from the other seashores where there are no nuclear plants. And that's why Professor Natarajan is promoting what is called as a modular nuclear reactor. In simple terms, this is a management of technology. So you people are more on management of economics, finance, policies. But I think today we have come to the stage where we need to manage the technologies, forecast it, identify the threats, and start solving them right away. So, enough of doomsday scenario. Where do we go from here? And I have designed this for you people, the management students. I'm not talking to the man on the street. I'm talking to the IMI students. And I think idea is that your actions to avoid these kind of disastrous scenarios should start from today, not tomorrow. And this is, we call it, the first thing we say, oh, there should be awareness. I think there has been awareness. For last 30 years, there has been tremendous awareness on climate change. There is no need of workshops. There is no need of talks like what I'm giving it now. What we do is start action. And what we need is not the workshop, but the workshops in the nature. Wherever you get chance, the first thing, if you want to relax on weekends, after the exams, or during the holidays, make sure that you keep on wondering about how nature survives. And you will get a lot of good ideas to start with. And reduce your Google search on climate change. If you want to give the keywords, give the climate change, the latest technologies. Do that. But there is another way. Go to the nature and do the nature search and understand how this survival, flourishing of certain nature, certain places, it is taking place. Observe the nature, how not to disrupt their balance, and you will come to know that in order to take that action, even if it is a modular nuclear reactor, or even if with the solar panel recycling and extracting the rare earths from the solar panel, still you will find that there is a finance gap. You need finances for that. You'll also see that there is a technology gap, which I just now accept. That whenever you start looking at alternative energy, start looking at its adverse impacts, which will happen, which will be more disastrous than solutions that they have provided. But more than that, there is a skill gap. And this is a lesson, this is a message to the faculty of the management school also, not only to the students, that there is a definite skill gap in taking action on climate change. And that is, I don't know to explain this slides to you, but we are not paid much attention to the skills, the human skills required. And we talk about economic capital, we talk about technology capital, but we never talk about human capital. And I feel that I'm facing the human capital today. This hall is full of human capital. You have that with you. That is your venture capital. Just venture into it to make sure. And then you say, what you do? I will wait for 2 years to get my degree certificate and then go and then do it. No, you can do it right away in a campus. Campus is your living laboratory for doing it, to build your minds, to build your skills, upskill yourself, maybe reskill yourself in order to make sure that you don't wait for going to Google, Microsoft. And I've been telling this story of IIT Bombay. And look, if you don't know much about what is called as a net zero, I'm going to come to that subject quickly. And if you don't know the dangers of some of the clean energy that you have, you are unlikely to be selected. I'm not standing here to tell you the negative part of your life. But in 2023, IIT Bombay student, even before declaring the results, all of them get placed. That is a normal tradition of many IITs, IIT Bombay also. In 2023, 34% remained unemployed. Many of them started applying for all sorts of visa, kept on wondering what Trump will do, kept on talking about whether Australia or Canada, the second options, those kind of things. But they did not get the job. Talking to some of these industries, and I was talking to Saketji from Goenka yesterday, and I was telling him, and he totally agreed with me, that today's students lack the skill of tackling the climate change. Because the moment you enter into any employment in the manufacturing things, or even in a consultancy, the first thing they will start is, hey, take this, go to that company, and start making an ESG report, start making sustainability report, start talking to their CEO or their manager, sustainability manager, that kind of thing. And that is not taught to you here. So you are lost. Then you start doing a Google search instead of going to nature because you don't have time to go to nature. And hence, I think it is very important that your upskilling takes place in a carbon neutrality and in net zero. So that is our forgotten capital. So my organization, which is an NGO called as a Green Terre Foundation, has started this called as SCCN, Smart Campus Cloud Network. It's a network of universities. It is not a network for online courses on net zero. No more online courses. There are offline work on the campus. That's what is needed, because you people know it already. When you are told, your mind is prepared for that. Only thing, you are not told that, you are not asked to act on it. And I hope from today onwards you start acting in your campus. So our inspiration comes from United Nations Secretary General, our Prime Minister Modi ji. It comes from Erik Solheim, who was a former minister in Norway of environment, and then later on Under Secretary General of United Nations, Prakash Javadekar, who was a former Minister of Environment as well as HRD, and Vijay Bhatkar, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, who was a supercomputer man in India. So that is the way forward. I don't think I will read my slide. You can read yourself. The idea is that we have to make sure that the youth start working on net zero. And that why youth, I'm coming to that now, that why campuses? Because it gives you opportunity to have a pilot plant there of net zero, make your campus net zero. And it also satisfies all 17 sustainable development goals, but particularly 7 and 13, which talks about clean energy and climate action. So how we do that? One thing is smart campus cloud network. Smart is through digitalization. Make campus as a living laboratory. Cloud is by sharing. Don't work in isolation or silos. Start talking to the other universities. So I would say that your management institute is encouraged to talk to other management institutes, like IIM Kolkata, IIM Ahmedabad, how they are doing it. IIM Ahmedabad, the PR Shukla, who is one of the senior professors, He's a part of the IPCC, which you will start thinking that how management close to the international decision making. So talk to them about what they are exactly doing it. And you say that I am Bombay, where Dr. Tiwari, who is an expert on sustainability, and he and me, with the help of some of the other colleagues from IIT Madras and all that, are putting the sustainability criteria coming more and more focused while ranking the university. Ranking is not based on how many students get what package or how many students are placed. What is the ratio of faculty and the students and what kind of facilities you have here and whether you have greenery. Then you can put a photograph in your NAC submission and look, so many trees we are there. Who has measured it? Who has verified it? There is a lack, and we are now advising the NAC committee, NIRF, National Institute of Ranking Framework, how we can modify it and make it not just a washing, but a reality. And network is accelerating. When you create a network among the universities, you accelerate your targets. So it is a seminal operating principles are learning by doing and not learning in online or in workshops. Accelerating by sharing, which I talked to just now. Managing by measuring, and that's why digital technologies come in picture. And monitoring by digitalization. If you go to the Ministry of Environment office, the minister, he has a big screen of major, I won't say which industries, but major industries where the sensors are put in the water outlet coming from their factory. Let's say whether it is a company, Reliance, to see that their Jamnagar factory, when water is coming out, there is a sensor which minister sees it. And the moment that sensor goes beyond red line, automatic warning goes to Ambani, saying that first time you crossed it. After 3 times of such attempts, like you make the mistake in password, then you have to rush to somewhere else for getting a password. The factory is asked to shut down, and if they don't shut down, it will be automatically shut down. So things have gone to that, and that kind of technology, we can use it for monitoring it, innovating by co-creating. I think the word is not creation of technology, it's a co-creation of technology, because more minds are needed to look at all the aspects of technology and reimagining the partnership. Not just form a partnership. That is, I think, the partnerships are getting formed for thousands of years. But we are talking about reimagining the partnership. I think because of the generous time, I want to give you one example of how in 1944, one partnership was reimagined. This is very interesting. Bad example, but let me do that anyway. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, there was no other alternative but to accelerate making of atom bomb. And it has to be done in a particular time. So they say, oh, we can do it together. But what is this together? Together is a so it was formed that this particular research institutes in California will do this. This in New Jersey will do this. This in UK will do that. This, and all will be in a contact with each other. And there is a one common control room, and that control room manages that whether we are in target or not. They did it. And that is called as a reimagining the partnership. Can we have a singular objective of net zero and have such kind of a network and say our target is 2030 and 2050, then only we can do this. I say why I am addressing universities, and that is because I will tell you what are your strengths. I don't want to take you as a culprit all the time. You have the opportunities and your strengths, and India has that demographic dividend, and India is become most populous country. When the 8 billionth baby was formed or was born, and also I think in 2022 or 23, we became a most populous country, probably ahead of few months, few I think 1 year or so ahead, because we are very faster in productivity. and that was not imagined. So we become most populous country. But then we are also fifth largest economy now, which you know it very well. We replaced UK, who ruled over us for 150, 200 years. So there was quite a celebration. But not only that, we have 1.2 billion young people, 16% of the world are in India. They are the youth. Not all of them are in IMI or management institutes. They are either in other schools or even not getting in any of the schools. And below 35 age is a 66% of Bharat. So that is the demographic dividend, and that is our capital that we have to deploy it well. But it's not only numbers. We have excellent startups. You people have done a phenomenal job. I come from the earlier generation, but I'm startled with the capacity that you have. So you are third largest number in startups in the world. I think that's more than fifth largest economic criteria. That shows our talents. And not only numbers of startups, the quality of startup. And it has been done that the quality of startups in India are one of the best. Of course, one of the criteria used there is how quickly you become $1 billion company. I don't like that criteria. But anyway, it is there. And then it is called as a unicorn. So we are the third largest unicorns in the world. That shows our quality. So we should clap on this issue. We should say that there is a loud applause that is our youth who can change the world and take a leadership in getting a carbon neutrality of that. So I think I'm repeating these kind of things. Yeah, this is where I wanted to. Today's youth is getting lost, so don't get lost after my talk. You are one of the best for the future. But yes, your mental ability or your mental health will get affected by whatever is happening around you in related to climate change. So idea here is some of the older issues about the health, but we are losing also the direction of sense and direction for learning capability, and we also don't know how to react to certain situation because we are not prepared for that. So human health is also getting affected, and your health is to be taken care of. So one of the things that we have done through our Smart Campus Cloud Network is not to produce how to save water, or not only the guidelines for saving the water or saving the energy, but we also made a guideline for nutritious food in your canteen in the campus. Remember that nutrition food is going to not only have your physical ability to react, but also your mental ability to react. And that guideline is prepared with the close cooperation with Niti Aayog. So what is the status of this network? The 100 plus official consent of the universities, we have about 1,200 universities, so it's not a big figure. But they have said that they will start the action on net zero. 4 regional workshops have taken place, as Mohaji said. That 4th workshop was in IIT Guwahati, where India became the first country to start the action in universities in organized way. There are a number of universities who already started action. Now, if you write to, let's say, Stanford tomorrow to get admission for the management and say that you have worked in IMI, which has worked in net zero, your application will be considered in more favorable way than others. Let me tell you on this. So these are the states where the most of the industries are, universities are coming from for making their campus as a living laboratory. And these were the 4 workshops which have been addressed not by only me. I only make the beginning of it, but the experts from UNDP, World Bank, UNEP, Niti Aayog, UGC, and Ministry of Power and Ministry of Human Resource Development. But it is not only national, and I don't want to go in this international way because these are the countries also part of this network. So you probably, when you become a member, you are already a member and we launched it, you will have an opportunity to interact with these centers. This is something just to tell you that our NGO is quite well connected with the government, and we are advising them on proactive policies. That's with Education Minister Pradhan. That is with Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe, who is in charge of ranking in universities, and Dr. T.G. Sitaram, who is the chairman of AICTE, with whom we have signed a MOU. So whenever you start working on your campus, your work will be officially conveyed, I won't say reported, conveyed to them, and probably directly through certain amount of digital technology. This is the Ministry of Environment. This is the Ministry of Power. Now he is no longer there. And this is the UGC, Dr. Jagdish. And this was again a former of Niti Aayog. And these are the advisors. And you can see that there are international advisors with whom you can start interacting directly or through your people like Sammedeep and Moujaji. These are again advisors coming. This last figure, I want to show you, take some time. How long? I crossed 1 hour? You have. This particular from Sri Lanka. And he came out with the idea that I can get net zero campus in 1 year's time. He's from Sir Jayawardhanpura University in Sri Lanka. And we said that, yeah, okay, everybody says that in 6 months I can do it, in 1 year I can do it. He straightway walked into the forest department of Sri Lanka and told them that your forests are not getting protected. Lease it to me, means that university, and we will take care of your forest. But then, whatever the carbon dioxide you are absorbing in your forest, that should be credited to us. We will not take any money from you. Forest department said, yes, sure, why not? Go ahead. We have not been doing a carbon dioxide absorption quantity. And he took 1,000 acres of forest, calculated how much carbon dioxide it absorbs. That carbon credit, he got it. And he sold it in a market. And whatever money he got, he installed solar plants, solar panels. He got quite a good amount of money. But at the same time, he didn't make an impression that, okay, you can continue fossil fuel, I will continue with the forest. He started controlling. He started putting a cap on emission. Though he didn't start reducing it, because he says reduction will take more time. Because the capital has to come, solar panel has to be installed, it will take time. And in 1 year's time, he got an international certificate that his campus is a net zero. I think that is a reimagination. That is a co-creation. He did a co-creation with the forest department. So the opportunities are around, and it's only young mind like yours will be able to avail them. So these are the Chinese people about Smart Campus Cloud Network. This is another one. This is in Peru. I just wanted to show the diversity. There are 7 universities in Peru working on that. Then we have Norway's ambassador who is supporting us. And this is in Dubai. This is Institute of Technology, Rochester Institute of Technology. And this is in Azerbaijan. In COP29, we signed it. Their university has become a part of the campus. Yeah. I can't finish my presentation without showing you Modi's image, right? Prime Minister Modi's image. But this is the last but one slide, and then we start interaction. See, the idea of showing this is not to show that our Prime Minister is the greatest or he has won so many awards. What he is showing here is that only medicines which will solve your problem. Is a healthy mind is needed for doing something which cannot be achieved easily, like net zero. So practice these kind of mindfulness. And I also want to change the definition of naturopathy. Naturopathy says that medicine is made from the nature. Naturopathy's real meaning is go to the nature and learn from them. That is a naturopathy. Of course, you can take some of the leaves and make your morning recipe, to take a morning things, the herbal kada they call it. But that's the reason why this is there. So, message, just do it. Thank you. I'm tempted to see what is the time. What is the time? Okay. So the questions. I'll leave the dais. I'm sure you must be having number of questions, but I think somebody has to make a beginning. Yes. Yes, please. Madam. Yeah.
I'm Professor Shahana Roy Chaudhary, Faculty of Economics at IMIK. Thank you, Dr. Shende, for this wonderful, engaging, and insightful discussion that ignited thoughts and responsibilities. So I was just wondering that we do get micro targets and micro actions everywhere, in home, in workplaces, and accordingly we act. So in very contrast to this, these climate actions and related sustainability related things, so these has macro targets needing micro actions, so which creates whole lot of free riding activities, moral hazard in economic terminologies. We do use this, like for example, if the students get group project, so they are free riders, no wonder, but there are initiatives taken by leaders leading students. So do you really believe that creating awareness and innovations, there lies the key to solve these macro targets, and that needs micro actions?
Yes, I strongly believe in that. I think we need to start at the ground level, which is, you call it a micro action. We just cannot keep on criticizing that in Kolkata some roads are clean and some roads are dirty. I think the best example is to ourselves start cleaning them around your area. And don't go to the Harwa bridge and do that. But at least keep yourself, your area clean, then join with your society. The society gets clean, then other societies come. So that could be idea. I strongly feel that starting micro actions with the partnerships and sharing your knowledge on that is the key to it. I don't think, and remember that more people you engage, more diversified ideas come. It is not only the idea of one particular leader, it's the others also join in it. I know it is difficult to get convinced, but there are a number of examples. And through our website, which is a sccnhub.com, we don't publish any news that there is a conference that took place. We don't say that the workshop took place. It is about this action took place. And if I keep on telling you the stories, how the micro actions have resulted into the transformation, you will be surprised. But more such examples are needed. That's why we are not succeeding. There are probably packets of good examples.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Shende. Thank you for your very insightful presentation. So I'm Rahul Srinivasan. I used to work with the World Bank. I am now with the UN Sustainable Energy Fund Initiative. You spoke about World War III, the climate crisis being a World War III. I think one of the big issues is that we are not able to communicate this urgency to the common man or woman. COVID-19, for instance, was a huge pivotal moment to communicate a health crisis. How do you think the UN and governments and various organizations can make this climate crisis sound urgent to the common man or woman? Because that is what I think we are missing. So any ideas on what your institution or what the larger UN umbrella can do to make this crisis sound urgent to the common man or woman? Thank you.
Very, very valid, very good questions, timely question. You said you are from the financial initiative. Okay, sustainable energy. Okay, thank you. Look at some of the examples where the world has taken action collectively by accident. not by deliberate attempt. And one of the latest was from COVID-19. It was a pandemic. The farmer in my village didn't know about this COVID-19, but probably somewhere in Delhi, somewhere in Ames, Kolkata, people started realizing that COVID-19 is becoming a sort of a worldwide crisis and disaster. So somewhere the action started. I don't think people went to villages or taluka level or district level or the state level to hold the workshops. There were no workshops on COVID-19. We took the advantage of the existing infrastructure of digital media and started doing it. And when some of the leaders took the action, well-meant leaders, people started feeling it. So it spread. There were no deliberate attempts of spreading the knowledge on COVID-19. People came to know, the wave started. So maybe that lesson we can take, and what I personally feel is, when you start action, when you start doing it yourself, it spreads and then it goes on. Climate change is a pandemic. WHO is not part of it, but is a pandemic where each one of us are part of it. And that pandemic, you start your own micro action, as we say that, then I think it will spread. Probably it is very easy for me to answer your question by saying that, but that's why I give the example. And there are other examples. There are other good examples. This is a disaster example, but another example is a digital technology. Let's say smartphone. I doubt whether any workshops were held how to use the smartphone, isn't it? I think it's your friend in a village. You go to your village and give it to him and then say that, no, ऐसे करो, ये इसके ऊपर दबाओ और वो ये हो जाएगा. It spread. Now we have 8 billion smartphones on this earth. There are no awareness lectures on that, right? There are advertisements. The 8 billion is not that everyone has this thing. Some people have 3. So totally 8 billion. Can you see this imagination? It is a revolution. So I think I'm just hoping that such thing can happen. But I think you are from the UN Sustainable Energy, and I think those kind of messages can go through it to spread the knowledge about modular nuclear reactor, which the farmer will feel, क्या बोल रहे हैं इसके बारे में. But I think the things will move. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, of course, the UN remains pretty neutral on nuclear. It doesn't take any side.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's a lot of advocacy going on from the UN. It's just, as I mentioned, difficult to reach the last mile and the common man/woman. So it's very difficult to attribute. I think that's the problem. If someone loses a life because of, say, air pollution, it is very difficult to make that attribution that you have lost your life because of air pollution. COVID-19, that attribution was easier. So that's what makes it a little bit trickier. I think work continues. A lot of people are doing good work, but I think really what is needed is to make this urgent, at the grassroots level, and hopefully that will happen with time.
Yeah. That will happen with the time, and if the actions are taken in time, particularly with the young people, it can happen faster. And remember, in COVID-19, the senior citizens like me suffered, but the youth contributed a lot. I remember I come from Pune city, and there was sort of a lot of young volunteers who kept on contributing to it selflessly when the manpower was not sufficient with the government. So those examples help. Yes.
Very thought-provoking question, sir. I have a very basic question. This could be coming out of sheer ignorance on my part. You talked about how you took the initiative of stopping production of chlorofluorocarbons, which were harmful. So my question now is, there is so much talk about ban on plastics. So is it possible to ban production of plastic when we have so many big industries actually responsible for production?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And thanks for pronouncing that word chlorofluorocarbons correctly. Not many people are able to do that. So you seem to be having knowledge on chlorofluorocarbons. Yes, answer is definitely yes. As you know, the International